Hey there, transit enthusiasts. Ever wondered what it takes to unlock the world of Wichita Transit's paratransit system? Today's deep dive takes us beyond the basics, using the Paratransit Writer's Guide as our backstage pass. You ready to become a paratransit pro?
Let's roll. We're going to uncover those intriguing details and insider tips that make all the difference.
First things first. You might think needing paratransit is as simple as I have a disability, so I'm in. But as this guide reveals, it's about more than just checking a box, right?
Absolutely. It all comes down to functional ability. Can you navigate the fixed route bus system independently? That's the million-dollar question.
So it's less about the disability itself and more about its impact on your ability to use the regular bus system.
Exactly. Someone might use a wheelchair, for example, but have no trouble getting to the bus stop, maneuvering on board, and understanding the routes. Their disability, while very real, doesn't necessarily prevent them from accessing the fixed route system.
Makes sense. So how does Wichita Transit actually determine who's eligible?
Well, they use the ADA's 3 eligibility categories as a framework. Now, these categories have quite a history, aiming to strike a balance between providing essential services and ensuring resources are used appropriately.
Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about these categories.
Well, the first category covers individuals who simply can't navigate the fixed route system independently, even with minimal assistance. Think of someone with a cognitive disability who might find it challenging to follow routes or manage transfers safely. It's not just about getting on the bus, it's about the whole journey.
It's about being able to navigate the system confidently and safely. What about the second category?
The second category comes into play when the fixed route system itself isn't accessible. Imagine a situation where a bus stop isn't equipped with a working ramp or has obstacles that make it impossible for someone using a mobility device to board.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's about the infrastructure itself being a barrier. What about the third category? This is where it gets really nuanced, right?
You got it. This one deals with those tricky last-mile situations. Someone might be able to handle parts of the bus system, but can't get to a bus stop or their final destination because of their disability.
So let's say I can physically get on the bus, but the nearest stop is miles away, and my disability makes that distance impossible to cover. That's a classic example, right?
Exactly. It's those gaps between the fixed route system and a person's starting point or destination that this category aims to address.
And this is where beyond the curb assistance comes in. The guide mentions Wichita Transit going above and beyond standard curb-to-curb service.
That's right. It's important to remember, though, that beyond the curb isn't as simple as asking the driver to walk you to your door.
Okay, spill the tea. What's one rule about beyond the curb assistance that might surprise people?
Here's a fascinating one. The driver has to be able to maintain a clear line of sight with the vehicle at all times. No ducking behind buildings or venturing too far out of sight.
Wow, I didn't know that. I guess it's all about safety and ensuring the driver can always keep an eye on the vehicle.
Precisely. And speaking of navigating those specific situations, Wichita Transit is really big on reasonable modifications.
Right. This part of the guide caught my eye. It seems like they're really emphasizing riders' rights to request changes if standard procedures don't work for them.
They are. And they actually provide a clear process for doing so.
So it's not just about hoping for the best, there's an actual system in place for requesting these modifications.
Exactly. They encourage riders to be proactive and to advocate for their needs.
That's empowering. And it sounds like they've put a lot of thought into making this system as user-friendly as possible.
Absolutely. It's all about finding ways to make the system work for everyone.
And speaking of making things work, let's talk about a topic that's often a bit sensitive: no-shows. The guide lays out a clear system of consequences, including potential service suspensions. But it's not as simple as missing one ride and getting penalized, is it?
Not at all. It's about patterns of behavior, not isolated incidents. And here's where it gets interesting. It's not just the number of no-shows that matters, but also the percentage of your total trips. So if you book very few trips but miss a large proportion of them, that raises a red flag.
So it's about being mindful of your overall usage patterns and the impact those patterns have on the system as a whole.
Exactly. It's a shared resource, and those no-shows can have a ripple effect.
That makes sense. Now let's switch gears to a topic that often causes confusion: service animals versus comfort animals. The guide dedicates a whole section to this distinction, and it's clearly a big deal.
It is. A service animal, as defined by the ADA, is specifically trained to perform tasks for someone with a disability. Think guide dogs, hearing assistance dogs, or even dogs trained to alert someone to an oncoming seizure. These animals are highly trained working partners.
So it's not just about having a furry friend along for the ride.
Exactly. Comfort animals, while wonderful companions, don't have the same legal recognition as service animals.
And the guide outlines some important guidelines for riders with service animals, right?
Absolutely. For example, riders are expected to inform Wichita Transit of their service animal when they apply for paratransit and each time they schedule a trip. This helps everyone prepare and ensures a smoother ride.
Communication is key. And speaking of clear roles and expectations, the guide also sheds light on what drivers are and are not responsible for.
Right. While drivers are there to ensure a safe and comfortable ride, they're not personal care attendants. For instance, did you know they aren't allowed to handle a rider's electric wheelchair controls?
Oh, wow, I didn't realize that. I can see why that would be important to clarify.
It's all about those subtle boundaries that might not be immediately obvious. The guide helps riders understand the scope of the driver's role, which ultimately makes for a smoother experience for everyone.
It's about setting realistic expectations from the get-go. Now, we'd be remiss if we didn't address public health, especially in today's world. The guide dedicates a whole section to contagious illnesses and hygiene.
Right. It emphasizes that maintaining a healthy environment is a shared responsibility.
So what are some of the key points they highlight?
They're all about common sense and respect. Riders are asked to stay home if they're feeling sick, especially if they have symptoms of a contagious illness.
It's about protecting yourself and others.
Absolutely. And they encourage good personal hygiene, which is always a good practice, whether you're on public transportation or not.
It's those little things that can make a big difference.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Wichita Transit is committed to working with riders who might have specific concerns or need alternative solutions if they're unable to use the service due to illness.
Exactly. They're all about flexibility and finding ways to accommodate individual needs while keeping everyone safe.
Speaking of feedback and making the system better, the guide encourages riders to share both complaints and compliments. It's not just about what's going wrong. They want to hear about what's working well, too.
Absolutely. Feedback is crucial for any service, especially one as essential as paratransit.
So how can our listeners make their voices heard? How do they go about sharing feedback with Wichita Transit?
They've made it really easy, actually. You can call them directly at 353-352-4828, or shoot them an email at paratransit@wichita.gov, or even send a letter to their office at 777 E Waterman, Wichita, Kansas, 67202.
I love that they offer so many different ways to get in touch. It's clear they're serious about hearing from riders. Now, we've talked about the importance of feedback, but the guide also stresses staying informed in general. It's not a one-and-done kind of deal, is it?
You're right. Things change, routes get updated, policies get tweaked, so it's crucial to stay in the loop.
And they actually encourage riders to go beyond just checking the website every now and then. They suggest bookmarking the Wichita Transit website and following them on Facebook for those real-time updates. It's about meeting riders where they are, which I appreciate.
Exactly. It's about being proactive and empowering riders with the information they need when they need it.
And speaking of empowerment, one of the coolest things I came across in this guide is the travel training program. This seems like such a game changer, especially for folks who might be new to public transportation or a little unsure about navigating it on their own.
It's a fantastic resource. Imagine getting personalized one-on-one support to learn the ins and outs of the fixed route system. That's what travel training is all about.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all training session. They actually tailor it to your specific needs and goals.
Absolutely. They'll work with you to create a customized plan, whether you need help with trip planning, reading bus schedules, understanding fare structures, navigating bus stops, or even just getting comfortable with the whole bus etiquette thing.
So even someone who's never set foot on a city bus before could benefit from this program.
Absolutely. They'll even do hands-on training, going out with you on actual bus routes until you feel confident enough to fly solo.
Wow, that's incredible. It sounds like they've truly thought of everything to make their services accessible. Where can our listeners go if they're interested in learning more about the travel training program?
You can find all the details, including how to request travel training, right on the Wichita Transit website. They make it very easy to get started.
Perfect. Now, we've covered a lot of ground here, from eligibility and service guidelines to the importance of feedback and those amazing free training programs. But there's one last point in the guide that I found particularly important. It's about Wichita Transit's commitment to non-discrimination.
Yes, this is so crucial. They explicitly state that every rider deserves equal access to their programs and services, regardless of race, color, national origin, or disability.
It's a powerful statement about their dedication to inclusivity. It's about ensuring everyone has equal access to transportation, regardless of their background or circumstances.
And it goes beyond just words. They actually outline a clear process for filing a complaint if someone believes they've experienced discrimination.
Right, they have a dedicated Title VI coordinator who handles these complaints, and they encourage anyone who feels they've been treated unfairly to come forward.
It really underscores their commitment to not only talking the talk, but also walking the walk when it comes to inclusivity and to ensuring accountability within their system.
It's really encouraging to see that level of commitment to fairness and transparency. It's clear they're taking active steps to make sure everyone feels safe and respected using their services.
Absolutely. It's about creating a culture of respect and accountability, which is essential for any public service, really.
Well said. As we wrap up our deep dive into Wichita Transit's paratransit system, I'm struck by the thought and effort that goes into making this service work. It's a complex system with a lot of moving parts, and they're clearly committed to making it as user-friendly and equitable as possible. What are your final thoughts on this?
It's been fascinating to delve into the details of this system. It really highlights the importance of clear communication, thoughtful planning, and a commitment to ongoing improvement. Wichita Transit seems to be taking all of those elements seriously, which is great to see.
And for our listeners, even if you're not in Wichita, this deep dive offers valuable insights into the complexities of accessible transportation. It's a reminder that these services are vital lifelines for so many people, and that creating truly inclusive transportation systems requires a multifaceted approach.
Absolutely. It's a conversation worth having in every community.
Well said. So until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those insightful questions, and keep those brains engaged.